guys, it's me. Welcome back to the All That Jazz podcast. Here we are. Let me set the scene for you. It's 10:30 at night. I am in my pajamas, which consists of Nike Pros from 4th grade and this Bass Pro Shop t-shirt that I recently thrifted. And I just took a shower. My hair is wet. We've got the fairy lights on. Big, cozy vibes. We're really, really honing in the sleepover vibes today. And I hope you're doing well. I'm doing okay. It's been an interesting day. This morning I recorded what was supposed to be the second episode of the All That Jazz podcast. I spent the whole morning methodically planning it out, what I was going to talk about, this deep and too personal of a topic. Filmed it, edited it, even exported it to my computer, and I took a listen to it and I was like, I know last week I talked about what I wanted to do in this podcast, and I talked about wanting to discuss mental health and discuss, things that I'm going through, but I also need to remember that there is a fine line between sharing what I've learned and sharing what I'm still figuring out. And there's a lot of things that I'm still figuring out. And so until I have a solution for those things, and until I've come full circle and learned something, come out on the other side, I don't feel like it's appropriate to share. And even once I do come out on the other side of XYZ problems, it still is up to me to share. And I just want everybody to know that I'm learning, I'm growing, this is just such a casual time that we're having together, and each week can be a little bit different, and I need to stop proclaiming things on the internet. I'm really good at that. I'm really good at promising things on the internet and then not doing them, because then I get so stressed that I promised that I was going to do something, then I let the pressure get to me, and then I end up planning too much, and then I overthink it, and then I don't like what I created, and then I just delete it and then just don't do it anyways. So I need to learn from that, and just know this is just hangout time. And I realize that maybe it's okay not to really have a label for this podcast. Everything can be different each week, and this is all about Jasmine having fun and doing things that make her happy, and you can come along for the ride if you want. We started right on a rant there, but I just needed to get that out of the way. Also, I'm very calm because I just took a shower, and showers are I love showers. Showers are so amazing. I take a shower anytime I'm feeling down in the dumps. Showers are they're just one big reset button that you can stomp on. They're so great. You take a shower and you feel brand new. You feel like you came right out the womb. Just straight out the womb. You're still umbilical cord still attached. That's how I feel after I take a shower. So I'm feeling nice and calm and relaxed. So today I want to talk about aesthetics and my opinion on different aesthetics and people's brands. All right. But before we get to that, we have to share our fun fact of the day. Jasmine, roll the music. Alright, so today's fun fact of the day is that you can, in fact, drink too much water. And I learned this the hard way, and I'd like to share that story with you, if you don't mind. So, I recently got a new water bottle. Let me show you. If you're watching on YouTube, I got a new water bottle. And I had a different Hydro Flask, but it rusted. And so I took it to the store and I was like, yo homies, this shit rusted. And they're like, we got you. And they just exchanged it with this little cute one. Now, this one is smaller than my other one. My other one was a big Hydro Flask, and this one's a smaller one because we wanted one that could fit in our purse. That is a key ingredient in our story. Just keep it in your noggin for later. So You know when you get a new cup or a new mug or a new water bottle or something of that nature, all of a sudden for the next like 48 hours, no longer than that, just 48 hours, you're in like hydration mode. Like you're like, this is my new thing. I'm going to drink out of this water bottle every single day. It's going to be so great. I'm going to drink all this water. Like I'm going to be so motivated to drink water just because I have this new cup, like this and that. Like we all, like, you know what I'm talking about. You know. Admit it. You know. You've done it before. So of course I knew I was going to be in that mode with this water bottle, but I didn't really think I knew the extent. So here's what happened. The next day, I wake up in the morning, wash my new water bottle, fill it up with water, stick a straw in it, okay? Lid off, reusable straw in, all right? I come upstairs, I come sit at my desk, and I do this thing whenever I have water. Like at home, I'm always drinking out of something with a straw, okay? Like it's got to have a straw in it. So I have the water bottle just sitting on my desk, like right in front of me, and it's placed in a way that I can just keep the straw in my mouth, but still like be sitting properly in the chair, like so I can be drinking water at all times. I hope that made sense. So sitting at the desk, straw in my mouth, I'm working on my computer, and I am also unaware of the rate at which that I am sucking water. I am like unconsciously sucking water. Okay? And all of a sudden, I hit the bottom of the water bottle and I'm like, this is fine. Let me go fill this bitch up again. So I fill it up. And then I fill it up again. And then I fill it up again. And then I filled it up one more time. And when I hit the bottom of my fourth bottle, so mind you, that is 4 hydro flasks of water, 80 ounces of water, I was like, what time is it? And I looked at the clock, and it was only 10:30 in the morning. It was 10:30 in the morning, and I had already drunk English. I had already drunk more water than I needed for the whole day. And I was like, well, look at me go. This is great, isn't it? Like, this is so good. Like, I am so hydrated. Like, I'm going to feel so good. No, very wrong. About an hour later, I keep on drinking. I'm still drinking water. And all of a sudden, I'm feeling a little bit dizzy. I have a headache. I'm not feeling so hot. And those are normal feelings for Jasmine. Let me remind you that my body does not work like the normal human anatomy. Okay, so I'm not phased when I have a headache or I'm feeling this way. I'm just like, well, I guess I'm just dying again. Wasn't questioning it until I was like, you know what? Like, let me go drink some water. Because that's always my first line of defense when I have a headache is, well, I'm probably dehydrated. So I grabbed my water bottle and then I caught myself and I'm like, oh my God, I'm about to go get my 6th hydro flask of water. And it's like only noon. And then I was like, oh my God, have I had too much water? And so I did what you're not supposed to do. And I Googled it. I Googled overhydration symptoms, and lo and behold, I checked off every single symptom, and I'm like, Jasmine, you've definitely had too much water today. And so I didn't drink water for the rest of the day, and I actually felt incredible by the end of the day. So my PSA for everybody is, while it's very important to drink water, and if you have a headache, you're probably dehydrated, but you could also be too hydrated. So yeah, that's my story. It is possible to drink too much water. I don't think I was poisoned because Google told me you could get like water poisoning. That doesn't sound very good. Well, anyways, just thought I would share. Don't forget to leave a fun fact in the comments if you're watching on YouTube, and if you're on Spotify, you can always hop on over to YouTube and leave your fun fact in the comments. And just a reminder that a fun fact can be literally anything. There are no limits. There are no rules and regulations to a fun fact. Fun fact could be anything. Thank you for listening to my fun fact. Awesome. Okay, so now I would like to discuss aesthetics. So let me start with what's been happening recently. So recently, I've really not been loving the clothes that I have in my closet. I am actively working on this. I have been doing some online shopping, but online shopping without actually purchasing anything. Like, I'm just going online and looking at clothes, okay? And whilst I have been looking at clothes, I've been like, wait a second, maybe I should assess like what my aesthetic is, because then maybe picking out clothes will be like a little bit easier, like a little bit less overwhelming, because buying clothes for me is like, it's so overwhelming, especially buying clothes online. It's just, there are too many options. I don't know my size on all these online stores. It's stressful, okay? Like, I go to Goodwill and I have like limited options and I'm like, I got what I got. But when you shop online, anyways, so now all of a sudden I'm falling down like a Pinterest and a YouTube rabbit hole of like watching videos on like how to find your aesthetic, different types of aesthetics. And then I'm like, okay, well, like that one looks kind of fun. And so then I'm like on Pinterest and I'm looking at, like art hoe aesthetic, e-girl aesthetic, visco girl aesthetic. And I'm looking at all these different aesthetics, indie aesthetics. And I'm like I felt like I had to like pick one. Like, I felt like Triss wrong mixture of books there. I felt like Triss in Divergent when she's like at the, I haven't read that book in a long time. It's like the whole like choosing ceremony thing where she's got to go and like cut her hand and like drip the blood into like which factor she wants to be in. Like, that's how I was feeling. Okay, I was like, which aesthetic is like my new home for, indefinitely? Like, do I have to pick one? Like, I again fell down a big rabbit hole. And then I like took a step back and I'm like, no, this is so silly. Like, of course you don't have to pick one. Like, I really got caught up in myself there. But I started to think, who made all these different aesthetics? Like, who came up with them? And like, how did they become what they are? And I mean that in like, I'm worried people feel like they need to identify themselves with one aesthetic and like stick to it. And maybe for some people that's a good thing, but like, why can't we just be all the aesthetics if we want to be? Like, there are some parts of like, the indie aesthetic that like I can fuck with, and then there's like some parts of, the visco girl. Like, I'm a very, like, you could categorize me as a visco girl. Fucking look at where I'm sitting, all right? Like, why can't I be a little bit of everything and more? Like, why have we had to like narrow it down to like all these few options? Like, why can't we dress and look like just like however we want without labeling it? Like, you know what I mean? Like, you could still dress like a quote unquote e-girl, but all of a sudden once you like label yourself as like an e-girl, then I feel like mentally maybe you feel like you have to like stick to that, and like you can't go outside the lines. Like, you can't leave the e-girl realm. You've got to like fully transition to a different realm. You know what I mean? Like, there's no room for like anything else. But I'm like, why can't we just have like a big melting pot of all the aesthetics, and you can just like pick and choose and do whatever you want? And like, you can, one day you could be wearing all black and the next day you could be wearing a sequin sparkly rainbow top. You know what I mean? And so I've realized that that is my aesthetic. My aesthetic is whatever the fuck I want it to be. My aesthetic can be different every day. My aesthetic could change weekly. And I don't want to have to label myself into an aesthetic. And I realized I've actually been struggling with this for a lot longer than I think I realized. I can remember a time back in, it was the summer of 8th grade before going into high school. And mind you, I was at a really small Montessori school before I went to high school, and my high school was really big, public high school. So I went from like growing up with the same like group of like 30 people for like my whole life, like kindergarten through 8th grade, to all of a sudden it was like I had this opportunity to like be a new person, meet new people. Like nobody knew me at the school, like that whole thing. I was like, I can like reinvent myself. Like, you know what I mean? And so I had spent the summer like trying to figure out what I realize now is like, what was my aesthetic? Like, who did I want to be? And like, there was all this, I put all this pressure on myself of like, I was going to have to be that person and like stick to that brand and that aesthetic for like all of high school. And it was like, what am I going to like for all of high school? Like, what am I going to pick? And I remember trying to like come up with my own aesthetic. I was like, I think it's like bubblegum preppy, I think is what I came up with. And I just wanted to wear like skater skirts with like button down shirts. Like that was, but I was like, but I also liked other things, but I was like, I think I just got to stick to like one vibe. Like, no, I didn't. And of course I didn't. But looking back on it now, I'm realizing that all the time, regardless of this new like TikTok, whatever age, like just in life in general, nobody has to pick an aesthetic to stick to. Like you can just do whatever you want, whenever you want, and it doesn't matter. You know what I mean? And I also think too, now there's this like hierarchy in different aesthetics and what aesthetics are cringy. Why does each aesthetic have to be so like this like exclusive group of people that you're a part of? Like, why can't we just all be together and appreciate everybody's fashion sense and everybody's music tastes and everybody's everything without feeling like one is better than the other or one's cringy or not? Why can't we just do whatever we want? You know what I mean? I also think for a while there, and when I say there, I mean like a week ago, I was trying to like figure out, when I was going through this, like, what is my aesthetic? I was like, do I make my own aesthetic? And I meant that in terms of like, do I like make my own brand and stick to that? Like, you know what, like, not what I was just saying of like making my own aesthetic and making it whatever I want, but I meant like, do I be this trendsetter and like make my own like separate category of aesthetic? Maybe that's like, you know, the warm tone aesthetic. And do I stick to that? And am I the creator of the warm tone aesthetic? You know what I mean? And I was like, that's like so much pressure. Like, I don't know. I really went through all my options there. And I was just like, Jasmine, you just need to go online and you just need to find clothes that you look at and you're like, that's a really cool shirt. And I think it would look really good on me. And that's how you know. Because for a while I was like, well, you know, I could only get that shirt if I was like, if I labeled myself as XYZ aesthetic, or those pants would only work if I was, you know, people might think that I'm this aesthetic or that aesthetic. And I was like, why can't I just buy the damn pants and like nobody has to label me? Nobody is labeling me. I'm labeling me. You know, like we're not. Anyways, I want everybody to understand that we need to stop shoving ourselves into boxes. And I'm not saying that aesthetics are bad, because they're cool and they're a good way for people to like identify themselves or figure out maybe who they are. What I'm saying is we shouldn't limit ourselves just to that aesthetic. Like, we need to give ourselves the freedom to try all the aesthetics or try all the different vibes that you want to and not feel like you have to stick to one. I hope that made sense. And I also feel like maybe this is just a me thing, But like when I see somebody that might have an aesthetic that I like, but maybe I don't picture myself as that aesthetic. Let me try to give an example. Like, okay, I see a lot of pictures on Pinterest of people wearing like vests and like shirts under vests and like skirts and whatever. And I'm like, ooh, that's kind of cute. But I'm like, I don't know if it's like my brand. And then I caught myself and I'm like, well, it doesn't have to be my brand. Like, I need to give myself the freedom to like try different fashion things. Like, I don't know if I like it until I try it. You know what I mean? And I think if you see something that you really like, but you're like, oh, like that's not my aesthetic, like I could never. But like if you like it, like why not like give it a try? I don't know. Could be fun. Just express yourself. And don't feel like you have to put a label on yourself. And don't feel like society has to put a label on you. Even if it tries to, you can just kick its ass. So I think that's all I have to say. I know it's only been a little bit of time, but you know what? Like I said in the beginning of this podcast, there's no rules. There's no regulations. We can do whatever we want. And I think that's all I have to say about that. And if I were to ramble more, it would probably get a little bit boring. So I think that's all I have to say. So yeah, in conclusion, just be yourself and don't be afraid to express who you really are. I think that's it. Thanks for hanging out with me. Hope you had a fun sleepover late night chat. And I love you. And don't forget to go leave a review and leave a comment and subscribe if you're on YouTube. I'm going to go to bed. And if it's nighttime for you or you're listening to this as you're falling asleep, I hope you sleep well. If you're listening to this while you're doing homework, keep on grinding. You're doing great. You're going to get an A on that test. You totally got it. And if you're driving, I hope you drive safe. Okay, that's it. Peace and love. Don't forget to eat a snack if you're hungry.